Whew, I gotta stop filming these on Friday because it's like 10 something and I'm wasting so much time. This camera angle is not great, but it's kind of like an upward Dutch angle, which if this were a movie suggests that I have corrupted authority. Yeah, well, one of the issues recently has been just sort of getting in that state of getting overwhelmed every once in a while because as much effort as I've put into art and storytelling and like all of that, the creative stuff, I don't have a whole lot of experience or success or knowledge when it comes to the businessier sides of things. Patreon's making money. I definitely want to find a way to have commissions, and even I feel like merch could potentially work out. I don't know how interested people would actually be in that. Again, that's not stuff that I am an expert in or understand. For this video, around this time last year, I read the book The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. Coelho. He's Brazilian. Does Portuguese follow the same rules as Spanish? So it's like Coelho. We're gonna assume that's right. I read this around this time last year. It was like mentioned in another book I was reading. I feel like I had heard of it, but never really gave it a thought. Oh, although nowadays I see this on like must-read shelves at like bookstores all the time. So I either was just not paying attention or got ahead of the curve. I mean, this book's kind of old. It came out in 92. Oh, no. It came out in 88. The English version came out in 93. I mean, it came out before I was even born, honestly. There was kind of one part that I think was maybe the catalyst last year for kickstarting the push to kind of grow Outrageously Big Z into something more than just an Instagram that I have that I'll put little doodles on every once in a while. So the main character is a shepherd who kind of gets this dream / calling to go to the pyramids in Egypt. And if I recall, he doesn't even really get told what's there. He just knows that he has to go there as sort of like a dream or a calling, of which, in comparing it to myself, I feel like growing as an artistic storyteller has always been a dream. And I think part of it is I do want to reach a point where I'm teaching that or helping grow that in other people. But Outrageously Big Z right now, I'm trying to grow myself so that I can, in the future, grow other people. There was a line early on in the story. So early on, he's in a town, and I think he's trying to save up money so that he can kind of make the journey. And he's working for a crystal merchant who he's a Muslim man running a crystal shop. And when he's talking about his dream or like calling to go to the pyramids, the crystal merchant kind of mentions how Muslims sort of have the obligation to make a pilgrimage to Mecca. And the main character sort of asks why he hasn't really put any effort into fulfilling that calling. And he has a quote: "You dream about your sheep in the pyramids, but you're different from me because you want to realize your dreams. I just want to dream about Mecca. I've already imagined 1,000 times crossing the desert, arriving at a plaza of the sacred stone, the 7 times I walk around it before allowing myself to touch it. I've already imagined the people who would be at my side and those in front of me, and the conversations and prayers we would share. But I'm afraid that it would all be a disappointment, so I prefer So I prefer just to dream about it. I remember when reading that quote in the book, it kind of hit me because maybe not when I was reading it, but like even like a year, so like 2 years from now, a year before reading this, I sort of was at a place like that where I felt like it was just easier to dream about your dreams or callings. I still think reality is kind of the worst, but to modify the Groucho Marx quote, still the only place to get a decent meal. But I found myself, in a place where like I would just not really do a whole lot. I would just sit around and dream. I'll sometimes, it's a thing that I've been doing since I was a kid, but I'll still do it these days, which I don't 100% have an issue with. I think in moderation it's fine, but I'll sort of walk around in circles in my room. And it kind of became a thing that like everyone in my family is like, oh, he's walking around in circles. I put headphones on. I've given up headphones, like in general, because I was going to kill my ears, honestly. I could not keep the volume lower than max. So I was like, I'm just not doing headphones. But, I just walk around in circles with headphones, daydreaming. And I feel like in moderation is fine. But especially the place in my life I was 2 years ago. Maybe like 3 years ago, 2 years ago. There was a period in there. That it got kind of bad. I was like, it's literally, I feel like it's more fulfilling to dream about doing that, to dream about growing and living than it is to actually live. So reading that as like an idea brought up by a crystal merchant in a book from 30 years ago, almost more than 30 years ago, 32 years. Again, I was not in that place when I was reading this, but having had been in that place, it kind of hit me that I was like, I was kind of in a middle ground, that I was in between being the crystal merchant or becoming the main character, whose name was Santiago, the shepherd. That kind of spurred, I think that spurred something in me early last year. I did a few drawings, kind of inspired by a lot of quotes from this, shortly after that, in like February, which you can go back and look at, even though I know I've been doing a drawing a day since May, so it's a lot of drawings to go through now. But that kind of spurred me to do those, which kind of spurred me to try and like buckle down and just start drawing and doing the 1,000 creations, which is just kind of a push for me to draw more. And then doing 1,000 creations kind of inspired me to start the webcomic up again. And then starting the webcomic up again kind of pushed me to start the Patreon up. I'd always wanted to do a Patreon, but I was like, who wants to invest in this? I kind of buckled down. I'm like, I'm going to keep moving. Keep finding the pyramids. I mean, much like the main character in the book, I don't know where exactly this is headed. I think from a business perspective, I look like a complete idiot, which, I mean, I am. But I think the big push has been kind of trying to find the pyramids or get to the pyramids, even though I don't know what's there. But just using these talents and skills that I've developed and developing them more and growing and seeing what'll happen. But that's part of the adventure. I can sit around dreaming and being satisfied with dreaming as opposed to living, or I can make the journey. I could probably do multiple videos on this book. I really enjoyed it. I mean, that might seem kind of basic for lit people. People who are lit. I would love to do like a reading club. I need to be better at reading. because as much as I like reading, it's like, I get distracted and I'm like, oh, I'm not going to read today. I don't know. I mean, that's the thing. I love making stories and art, but like I also like feel like I need to be better at consuming them. It's weird to say, oh, I need to be better at reading and watching movies and playing video games. But I feel like they're also what kind of spurs that creativity. All right, thanks for watching and Godspeed.